Hi, I'm Jessica Ng from Assurance Real Estate Acquisition Inc. And I have here Raeann Lefebvre, and she's our mortgage broker, and I have to say she's the best one. So I'll be asking her some questions today, hopefully to help you with any mortgage broker questions you might have. Do you look at a person's net worth at all?
Yes.
For what reason?
We look at it as strength of the application. So if somebody has a very strong net worth, it's obviously going to give us more strength in the overall application. It's not one of the legs that would cause the application to be declined, as I've been talking about. It's a situation where if they're teetering on the edge of being approved or declined, the net worth can just, okay, they've
Give you that extra bump.
Bump, exactly. Okay. And so if you have somebody who is in a negative net worth, and I've seen enough of those where somebody just got out of university, they have all the student loans, they haven't been able to accumulate much of a net worth yet, that's not going to be a factor as much as somebody who didn't really go to school, spent a lot of money on toys, and not even necessarily anything that's going to give them that asset to offset the debt. Okay. Where they have a negative net worth just because they just haven't been as structured with their finances.
I see. Can you explain what a mortgage broker does?
A mortgage broker is basically the person that does the shopping for the client when it comes to looking for mortgages. So in the old days, I say the old days, but it is still kind of common. Somebody would, when they're ready to get a mortgage, they'll go from one bank to the next, looking for who's going to give them the best rate and the best situation for them. In each of these situations, the bank is going to pull their credit and they're going to do a full application in order to determine what the client can qualify for. Right. And the banks only advertise their posted rates. They rarely advertise a promotional rate.
So they don't necessarily give you the best rate when you go to them.
Exactly. Okay. So they're going to look at your application and look at your credit and say, well, Mr. Smith, you're such a good client. We're going to give you 3.29% right now, when really they can go all the way down to 2.99%. So you're thinking you're getting a great deal because you only know the posted rates that are out there. You don't know the fully discounted rates.
So a mortgage broker could help as far as getting you that discount rate.
Yes, we have access to 20 regular mainstream lenders that are giving us the best discounted rates at all times. There's no bartering with them. They give us the rate. As long as the client qualifies, that's the rate that they get. And when I mean they qualify, it's talking about those four legs again. If you're strong enough to get approved, you're approved for the best rates that are out there. So we have all these different lenders that are available to us, and a lot of them are not the banks. We have access to most of the banks other than Bank of Montreal and Royal Bank, but we also have access to major mortgage corporations, trust companies that do mortgages as well. And they have to give the best rates because of the fact that they are not on every corner like the banks are. They have to be competitive. Okay. But they also have to offer good customer service and good prepayment privileges, because that's important to the clients as well. You want to find out about your mortgage, well, that's the reason you go to the bank, is because they're on every corner. You can walk into a branch and have that person. So they have to have that ability to either phone them or look up their information online. So that they can look up the details of their mortgage, make changes to the mortgage payment frequencies, doing lump sums. That's all very, very easy to do with these other lenders.
I see. And I understand that every single time you go to a bank, they pull your credit, right? So with you, do you just pull the credit once or for multiple times for each lender?
I pull their credit once and I utilize that credit bureau for all of my lenders. If I feel like I want to take it to 3 different lenders, then they'll still use that one credit bureau. And that's also a big benefit of using a mortgage broker, is the fact that we do only pull it once. So we do the shopping for you to make sure you're going to get the best rate, but we only do the credit pull once, so it doesn't negatively affect your credit.
And the importance is because if you go to each bank will pull your credit. And once you pull your credit more than a few times, then it starts to bring your credit down, right?
Exactly. You turn into what the Equifax calls a credit seeker. You multiple credit pulls at a certain period of time, and it will decrease your score sometimes up to 30 points just because of credit pulls.
Why does Equifax do that?
They feel that if there's too many pulls, it might be a situation where somebody is in hardship, that they're searching for credit in order to cover some expenses. So they're applying for many credit cards or loans or what have you. In the same breath, Equifax has gotten a little smarter with some of the credit pulls, because when you go and shop for a vehicle, even though you might only go to one dealership and one dealer, that dealer can end up pulling your credit 20 times in one day.
Why would they do that?
It's just the system. It's unfortunate. But Equifax has adjusted their scoring system based on the fact that if that 20 pulls happens in a matter of a day, then, or even a few days, then it only counts as one credit pull versus 20.
But for bank, usually you don't do it that fast, and there's no 20 banks in Canada that we could do that for. So that's why you would take a hit if you go to each bank, right?
Exactly.
How does a mortgage broker get paid? Like, does the client have to pay you?
In 90% of cases, the lender pays us. So in the A world and in the alternative, the B world, we get paid directly from the lender. So just for bringing the business to that lender, they pay us. So there's no fee to the client. In the private world or in the commercial world is the only world that we have to actually charge a fee in order to get paid.
Okay.
And that would be disclosed to you up front.
Okay, so at no point will there be a sudden fee that comes up where we have to pay that we didn't previously know about?
Exactly.
Okay.
To the broker anyways.
That's good to know. Mortgage brokers can give us the best rate. Why do people still gravitate towards the bank?
People are predisposed to go to their bank. It's what's been ingrained in us for a long time. And in the past, I'm not even sure how many years ago, mortgage brokers were really only for those people who could not qualify in the bank world.
Okay.
So if somebody's going to see a mortgage broker and they have that old mentality, they're thinking that, well, you're only going to a mortgage broker because you can't qualify in the bank world. Now, and over the past, I'd say at least 10 years, it's been, mortgage brokers are more out there to help clients and do the shopping for the clients, and we do get the best rates. So we're getting to be more and more common as the years pass, and we're hoping to push more of the market share towards mortgage brokers, because the banks have such a, they have so much of the market share that I think it needs to be spread out a little bit more. They're not giving the clients the best rates anymore.
Okay. So you mentioned before that as a mortgage broker you have access to many lenders and that they pay you. What stops you from putting someone into the lender that best suits you and you get paid the most to that lender? But it might not necessarily be the best for the client, but it's best for you. What stops you from doing that, or any other mortgage broker?
We have a fiduciary duty to our clients. That's a requirement of the Real Estate Council of Alberta for our licensing to do the best thing.
So you guys are regulated.
We are regulated by the Real Estate Council of Alberta, and our duties to our clients and to our lenders are different. But with our clients, it's to make sure that we're putting them in the best situation for them. And I always emphasize for them, because there are situations where they want to have the better prepayment privileges, but they're going to be paying a little bit of a different rate in order to get the better prepayment privileges. Or maybe they really just want the lowest rate out there, even though it's going to decrease their prepayment privileges. All these things are fully disclosed to the clients, but it's a conversation that I always have. What's important to the client? For the most part, I don't think as mortgage brokers we look at what we're going to get paid from each individual lender. It's pretty standard. And it's pretty standard out there.
Okay.
There's not big variances in regards to that. We get paid based on the amount of the loan and the length of the term that the client is going in for. So, if you really wanted to have a 1-year term and you're feeling like your mortgage broker is pushing you towards a 5-year term, really ask the question as to why. Because, it is what's best for you and what you want more than what they want.
Sounds to me like each client is a unique sense because some people want earlier payment, some people want to pay more, some people want lots of different things. So how do you determine what a client wants? What kind of questions would you ask them and what can they tell you to help you structure it so that they have the best thing in their interest?
I call myself a mortgage planner because I look at what's the client's long-term goals. I'm not here for a transaction, I'm here for a relationship. And I think that should be important if you're at the bank or if you're with a different mortgage broker, is what is your long-term goals? So when you're purchasing rental properties or when you're refinancing rental properties, it's a big question of mine as to what's your long-term goals. Are you planning on flipping this property? Are you planning on holding it for a certain period of time and just cash flowing on it?
Mm-hmm.
Or is this your actual retirement plan, is to have this mortgage paid off and 100% cash flow going into your pocket? Because those will determine the amortization, those will determine the term of the mortgage, the prepayment privileges. All those questions are so important. And it's the same thing when you're purchasing your owner-occupied property. Is we want to make sure that you're going to be, paying your property off as fast as possible. So giving you the tips and tricks to do that and pay less interest on your mortgage overall.
Okay. When looking for a mortgage broker, what are some key things that somebody should be looking for or some questions they should ask to make sure that the mortgage broker is the right fit for them?
I think that just a basic conversation with the mortgage broker will give you an overall feeling if they're looking out for you and your best interest. I always say to follow your gut. If they're not answering your questions very well, if they're not being thorough enough, I always like to educate my clients almost to the point where it's a fault. Because I want you to understand what I'm looking at, what the lenders are looking for, and I'll tell you the things that I could see possibly come up as an issue, just so that there's no surprises. I like to let you know what the next steps are and what to do going forward. I always like to tell the story of my own first experience buying a house where I was pretty much walking in the dark. I didn't have a realtor that advised me of anything. I had no idea what to expect. My lawyer didn't tell me he had missing documents until a day before closing date.
Wow.
And I wish somebody would have
guided
me through that process so that I knew what to expect, when to get on people's cases. And I, of course, wasn't dealing with a mortgage broker at the time.
So a mortgage broker would be able to have helped you with all this process and what to do, who to look for, what kind of things that you should be asking, right?
Absolutely. And it's important to ask those questions. And when somebody starts asking me those questions, I feel that, they're really looking for the education. I'll just start talking and tell them, from the beginning right to the end, what to expect, who to call, and even give them good referrals of good realtors and lawyers and home inspectors and you name it. I always want to make sure that my clients are, number one, protected, and then secondly, that they're educated. Well, I guess they go hand in hand, educated and protected at the same time, that they are not feeling like they don't know what's going on.
How long does this whole mortgage process take? From the day I find a property and I start looking for financing, how long would it take to get approved?
Well, basically from the moment you put an offer on a property to the moment that you are approved for the mortgage, it should only take at most 5 to 7 business days. There are busier times throughout the year. There are extenuating circumstances in every situation. Most realtors like to give us the full 10 business days to get it completed because there's situations where we need to order an appraisal. An appraisal will tend to take, a good 3 to 4 days in order to get it in our hands. So those are the things that you look at as well. So we like to start the pre-approval process before you start looking for houses and going out with a realtor. Once you have the pre-approval, and the pre-approval, I'd like to come back to that as well. But once you have the pre-approval from the mortgage broker and or the lender, then you would go ahead and start putting an offer, looking at properties, put an offer on a property, and then as soon as I have the offer in my hands, then it's looking at that 10 days in order to get financing fully complete.
Okay.